The arrest of the youngest person sentenced to death in 20th century America. On March 23, 1944, police in the small mill town of Alcolu, South Carolina, arrested a 14-year-old boy named George Stinney Jr. That arrest would lead to one of the most controversial death penalty cases in American history. Just the day before, two white girls, 11-year-old Betty June Binnicker and 7-year-old Mary Emma Thames, had been found murdered in a ditch near railroad tracks outside the town. Investigators quickly focused on Stinney after witnesses said the girls had spoken with him earlier while riding their bicycles through the neighborhood. Within hours of questioning, police said Stinney confessed to the killings. However, there was no written confession and no official record of the interrogation. The boy was questioned without a lawyer present and separated from his family shortly after his arrest. His trial began less than a month later in April 1944. The courtroom proceedings lasted only a few hours. Stinney's defense attorney called no witnesses, presented little evidence, and the all-white jury deliberated for roughly 10 minutes before returning a guilty verdict. At just 14 years old, George Stinney Jr. was sentenced to death in the electric chair, becoming the youngest person executed in the United States in the 20th century. On June 16, 1944, only 3 months after his arrest, Stinney was executed at the South Carolina Penitentiary. Reports from witnesses said he was so small that he had difficulty fitting properly in the electric chair. But the story did not end there. 70 years later, in 2014, a South Carolina judge reviewed the case and ruled that Stinney had not received a fair trial. His conviction was vacated, with the court stating that fundamental constitutional rights had been violated. The case remains one of the most powerful examples of how the justice system can fail. A 14-year-old boy was executed in 1944, and decades later, the courts admitted the trial itself had been deeply flawed. Follow for more real stories from history that still raise difficult questions today.